Oh, hello. Welcome back, Dan. It's been years since you've been back here, so
It has been years, unfortunately. Even though I hate that joke about the new year, it has been years.
Exactly. But yeah, welcome back, Dan. You sound better, which is awesome.
Thank
For people who don't know, Dan was suffering from the COVID, but you sound a lot better, which is awesome. Everything.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Feel a lot better. Happy to be here. First drink since I got COVID. Very excited.
Exactly. Woo. Yeah. Before we cheers, let's welcome Carter Reeves of Surfer Girl over here.
Hey, what up? What up? Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us for what was it, the second week of the new year? So excited.
It's been years.
It's been years. Exactly. All right.
We won't kill that joke, I promise.
It's fine. We will not beat the dead horse. Do not worry.
Yeah. We can. It's all right.
Fine. Yeah. Do you want to start off with introducing yourself and kind of who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, what's up? My name is Carter. I am the lead singer of a band called Surfer Girl. I am currently sitting right next to my bedroom window here in sunny California. It's we're on lockdown. Life is, I think, the same everywhere, but I'm very grateful. I'm super thankful I got music to kind of help me through it. I don't know. I'm just stoked. This is a brand new project. Like brand new as of this year. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of this. And not only that, this is my first interview too. So I'm just stoked to kind of be here, talk a little bit about the process, talk about what spurred it all, and give you guys a little insight. So
that's awesome.
All right.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so you started Surfer Girl pretty recently, i.e., like in 2020, right? Or was it kind of in the works, or what's the story behind all that?
Yeah, so about maybe probably October 2019, I was sitting with my friend and we were listening to a bunch of Studio One, like rootsy old reggae, and I was just like, my God, this is so good. There's just so much magic in the recordings, and granted, you can make anything, feel so good under the guise of nostalgia. I mean, I wasn't around in the 60s, so I don't really know, but there's this magic in the music that you hear, and I think it just kind of sparked my love for reggae again. I had been listening to tons and tons of kind of more modern reggae, kind of California reggae growing up. I would say that's what shaped me as a musician. Tons of Slightly Stoopid, tons of Sublime, Dirty Heads, those guys raised me as a musician, and really kind of got me going on my first musical endeavor. But since then, I kind of tucked it away for a while. So it wasn't until about, October of this past, or 2 years ago, when I kind of rediscovered my love for it, and naturally being a hands-on DIY musician, I was just like, well, I got to start making this. So I made a couple jams and they were kind of garbage, and I was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the right wave for me. But come quarantine, I sat down, and my parents live up in Maine, and I was visiting my parents in Maine for what I thought would be a week, which ended up becoming 2 months because I was very fortunate to just lay low. I just devoted a month to making kind of this modern reggae, kind of pop reggae sound, which is what the Surfer Girl project became, and rest is history. Here we are.
So you said that you kind of tucked away your original, or not your, I guess your initial inspirations for music, correct? Do you still find that you lean towards that when you're making music? Do you have to kind of hold back from music you had previously made or styles you had previously recorded as?
So, I mean, that's a good question. Are we regarding Air, perchance? My old band of Air, or just
Air, your solo any of it?
Yeah, so I mean, the trajectory of kind of the musical path. I mean, for those who don't know, I was in a duo called Air, spelled AER. Started that when I was 16. It started getting traction at 17, and we were touring the world. We were touring the nation, but Canada included, and some Europe shows as well by by 18. So it was just like such a crazy thing. But that music was very, again, it was all of what I've done has always had like a strong pop backbone to it. But it was much more kind of in the reggae scene, and we opened up for the Dirty Heads on one of their stadium summer tours with Pepper and the Dirty Heads, which was incredible. And then we also, you know, opened up for Soja at one point. So we were very much kind of in, you know, in the scene and in the world. And we actually amicably split about 5 years ago. Still buddies. He's my brother, and you know, we could dive deeper on it later. But I think I just like rejected what got me there. You know, probably more as like a rebellion thing, but also more of like a I can do this on my own thing. To the point where like the music that I wanted to make was super left field from kind of the reggae and reggae pop thing that I got started in.
Right.
So the Carter Reeves project definitely has a different sound to it, and you know, it's still kind of warm and lighthearted for sure, because I think I'm a warm and lighthearted person, so I'll like always make easy music. But it wasn't until I like rediscovered kind of like all the roots reggae that just kind of got me back in that writing mode of like, reggae is incredible. It always puts a smile on your face. It warms your heart, and like, you know, poppy, rootsy, however you see it. I think there's enough room in the world or enough room in the scene for anybody to make a little reggae. So that's kind of what brought me back.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So with that, do you feel like you have like a like, I don't want to say I mean, yeah, I guess I should say like a home in reggae music? Like, is that kind of like what draws you back? Kind of, is that because I know you have a bunch of different, like a lot of different projects that kind of they have their own kind of musical stylings, but do you feel a sort of certain home in a specific genre, or are you kind of just like, oh, every kind of idea and genre has its own flavor, and I kind of enter that space when I need to, kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you mean like where I feel like most comfortable, or like where I feel at home as an artist?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I first was working on the Surfer Girl music, and I shared it with a good friend of mine who's been by my side through hardcore rap albums that I never put out, which he was like, yeah, good riddance. And like, you know, from every breadth of style, he looked at me and he was just like, this is nothing different, bro. This is you. This just sounds exactly like you. This is you through and through. So I think that, yeah, I think that my melodies, where my brain goes, where my brainstorm happens, and kind of the flavors vocally, definitely resonates most strongly with the reggae world. And then I think from a fan base standpoint, like, you know, Air had a lot of reggae fans, and I actually went on tour with the Hold Up, who's Mike's a great friend of mine, and he's an incredible musician, and he is constantly blending reggae and pop, which he's got some really awesome stuff going on. But I was on tour with him, and actually had a lot of the shows, and I was Carter Reeves, and I was playing a lot of my older Carter Reeves music, which was a lot more kind of like funky R&B. And I actually had a lot of fans come up to me and be like, listen, man, I was all on board with the Air stuff, but this is not for me. Like, you kind of lost me with this shit. And I just remember being like, wow, I respect your honesty. Thank you.
Wow.
But at the same time being like, okay, like, noted. That's super interesting. I appreciate you, but like, I need to step out on my own and figure out what the hell's going on. But it's cool because I think what's so amazing about the reggae industry and the reggae fan base and the fans is that the moment I put music out as the Surfer Girl project, I just felt so welcomed with warm and open arms, and just like, this is a community of love, and this is a community of like people who just respect craft and respect people who work hard. And so like, I don't know, it was a little dicey. I was a little worried about the reception, but I think across the board, it felt like, you know, people kind of let me wander out on my own, and I kind of circled back home, like you were saying. And I think people were there just to like, be like, cool, we've missed you, man. Come on in. So it's definitely a really good feeling for sure.
That's awesome. And you released 2 knockout singles, so I'm just like, so clearly
Thank
it's
you.
been hugely successful the past year and so far this
Thank
year
you.
and everything. So it's been, so congrats on that.
Not even the year. I mean, the first single released in October, correct?
Yeah. So the first one was funny because I remember I feel like I want to send you guys this video after. Maybe I can send it to you to post or something. But
Sure.
I was in Maine through March. Hey, Christine. Thank you. Can you guys see that too, or is that?
Yeah, that was
Okay,
also
cool.
where it wasn't like the stream god. It was like, woo.
Yeah, right. But I was surfing in Maine, which people think is crazy even in the summer, but it was about 2.5 feet of snow, 30 degrees out, and I got my 5 mil, the hoodies, the booties, and New England surfing in the winter is like primo. There's not a soul in the water. It's like top notch. And I just remember sitting there. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's warmer than you'd expect, but I was sitting there just like drumming on the board, just kind of like thinking around, and I ended up I was like, the president don't know shit, da 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 da, and I was like, I don't think I can say that. That's a fucking joke. And then I was like, no, it's actually kind of hot. I actually really kind of like it, and I started like working out the melody, and it's funny because I just repeated it over and over and over and over in my head because I was like, I can't lose this. And I remember coming out of the water, my girlfriend was like on the beach, bundled up in blankets and shit, freezing her ass off. I'm like, quick, get a video. Like, I need to remember this. So she gets a video of me and I'm singing it, but I'm singing it in this like very happy major tone of like, the president don't know shit, hey, and like this silly ass, like goofy, completely unbelievable shit. And I just remember going home and getting into the studio that night and being like, all right, so clearly this has a stronger message, and it definitely isn't a really happy message. I mean, if you listen to the lyrics, it's definitely a message of unity and like, here's kind of where we're at. Why can't we see past these differences? And like, why are we relying on this divisiveness? Like, can't we please come together? And I just remember applying it to kind of a darker, a little more aggressive beat that I made, and just like it clicked. And I just remember being like, damn, it sounds really fucking awesome. I'm really proud of this. And so that was the first song that I was just like, holy shit, okay, we're really rocking on something now. And I remember when we were talking about the release, God, I think I talked too much, huh? You asked me about October.
No.
Here I am, like telling a whole backstory. But I just remember, when we were talking about the release, it was like, well, this song's going to be stale if we don't get it out before October, because who knows who's going to win the election. But if you really want to get it out in time, we got to get this thing out pretty quick. So, we definitely pushed that one out as quickly as we could, but we definitely wanted to build a little anticipation and excitement with the rest of the EP. So, yeah, it's been a while since we dropped the first single, but
what was the reception like for you when you dropped it? I mean, like even like just from audience perspective, fan perspective.
You said from the fan perspective?
Yeah, like how is the what's the reception been from like, what you're seeing from a fan's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless of the message, people are really drawn into just like the flavor and the style of the song. I mean, again, a lot of what I had been doing up until that release was just kind of like shamelessly bright, sunny pop music, without really showcasing, more, I guess, aggression, a little more frustration. I don't remember what crazy shit was going on in March, because there's been a whole slew of crazy shit going on. So, but I remember that I was just frustrated, and I was just like, I can't illustrate this in like a happy, who gives a hell like way. Like I gotta show a little different side of myself. And honestly, the first time I had rapped in a while, and maybe I'm not rapping, it's kind of just that couples are in the back of patrol, back to the people, let us go. And like, I think people really were stoked that I was kind of revisiting what helped to make me, who I am today. So the reception was super positive. And then naturally, you're gonna get the haters like, shut up, man. No one wants to hear about politics. Just make your own music. And I'm like, yeah, but like there's some unavoidable shit going on here, guys. Like, I feel like I have the opportunity to say something.
Not a valid, make your own music isn't a valid argument. Like, it is your own music. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you're not posting a cover. I was so confused.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I think it's just, and if you look at the history of musicians who have constantly, you know, you look what was reggae started as, and you know, I'm honestly not going to be someone who says I am super in tune with the roots of reggae and like I know like all this stuff because I am well aware that I'm a white dude from New England who's making some, you know, pop reggae music. So it is what it is. But I think that if you listen to where the music came from, if you get a little context as to what was happening in Jamaica, you know, with the diaspora and police brutality and all this stuff that was going on in Jamaica, where this tension and this friction created this happy art that kind of was a release, this sense of catharsis, this place where people could see the sunlight, you know, in times that weren't so sunny. I mean, that to me just connected really hard and felt like, you know, the whole basis of this music is based on telling it how it is. So like, what am I supposed to do? Just shut up and act like I'm, you know, happy with everything that's going on all the time.
Right.
I was obviously a little concerned that maybe like coming out strong with a political message and more of a political stamp for the first single would maybe pigeonhole me as being unable to then put out a song like Little Green Eyes, which is just clearly like a cute love song. But I think, you know, people really connected with both, and I think that they kind of hit both ends of the spectrum. But nonetheless, you know, I want to be well-rounded and be able to dip my toe and talk that talk, but at the same time just, you know, still have fun and see the bright side of things too. So
it's also the way you release like any like fresh, like, you know, there are some people who like write super long Facebook messages. There are people who, you know, write like tweets or like make videos, or like you just release all this kind of frustration with the world and what's going on through your music. And I think that's awesome because you are able, like other people are able to resonate with it in a way, and that kind of helps people as well. You know, that's kind of how I see it. And
no, absolutely. And
so.
yeah.
Green is clapping for your answer right here. I like it.
Hey, thanks, Karina.
I know you mentioned the EP a little bit ago, but is there anything you are willing to share or kind of spill some tea on the new EP that's being released maybe this year or something?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely this year. I can guarantee it. It's either going to come in February or early March. We're just kind of locking up the final things. This EP was so much fun to make because, you know, like I said earlier, this was the first time where I had just devoted a chunk of time to specifically write with a prompt. Like I get so excited when I have a mission, and I think when I sit down behind my computer or I pick up the guitar, I sit down behind the piano, whatever it is, and I just go, whatever comes will come. You know, it's a little daunting. You know, you don't completely know exactly where you're going to go. But I think what was really cool about the EP was I knew that I wanted it to be reggae, but I knew that I wanted it to be my take and my spin on it. And I also knew that I wanted it to be pretty poppy and kind of have more of a commercial appeal to it. But as I started writing it, it kind of just unfolded itself. And I remember, you know, I wrote Little Green Eyes, and then I wrote this song called Bag of Bones, which is actually my personal favorite on the whole EP. It just like hits in a good spot, and I really like it. But those two are kind of like more happy, uplifting, you know, a little bright, a little sunny. You know, you hear them on the beach and partying, and I just remember being like, okay, cool. And that was actually the day that I wrote Hero. And so I was like, okay, so now we kind of have this like darker thing going on here. And I just remember being like, all right, well, we got two light songs, we got a dark song, so let's balance it out with another dark song, or, you know, more kind of dark, a little more aggressive, a little more minor. And then I was like, well, what the hell do you bridge the gap with? So I bridged the gap with more of a sweet, almost like kind of R&B feeling reggae track, which it's funny because I use major seventh chords, which, you know, the Beatles always called those chords the pretty chords. They pack a lot of emotion into them. It's not just like a pretty classic major chord, which you would hear in a lot of reggae music and certainly in a lot of pop music. So it adds a lot more color. It adds a lot more depth and emotion to the chords. And I remember listening to a bunch of reggae music and being like, you don't hear much, you know, major seventh chords in reggae music. And maybe it's because it's a little overcomplicated and it's just a little too much, but it kind of gives it this sexy feel and a little more depth to it. So I was almost just like, you know, it's not happy, it's not sad, it's a little introspective. So it's cool because I kind of tried to build out this like well-rounded body of work that I think there's a little something that everyone can appeal to. So you got two dark, aggressive songs, you got two happy bangers, and then you got a little sexy one. So that's kind of where we're sitting.
Awesome. I've actually never heard like an artist talk about how to bridge a gap between like specific styles or like tones of songs with just like from scales and like major and minor chords. So it's interesting that you brought that up. And like how to bridge that. So that's awesome. It's cool. Not that I know anything about it, but that sounds awesome.
You also just gave more of an answer than any band or artist has ever given us about upcoming projects. Usually everyone's like, no, I want to keep it secret. That was like the best answer we've ever gotten for that.
You're like,
no,
here's
I'm excited.
I've
been done with I've been listening to this EP for like months now. I'm ready for the people to hear it. So any little information I can give to you to get you guys excited to listen to it, that works for me. So
that's awesome. That's great.
So let's stick with the EP for a second. So Little Green Eyes was it was like a whole 360 compared to what Hero is. So like what was the reason behind making that the second single?
So I mean, I hope the label doesn't think that I'm revealing too much inner workings, but I don't. I mean, I'm signed to this project is signed to the EP is signed to the wonderful people at Ineffable Records. I'm such a fan of their catalog. I grew up listening to a lot of the artists. These dudes work their asses off, and these guys, these gals, you know, the whole team really crush it. So I had known about them for a really long time, and when we pitched the album to them and they were really excited about it, you know, I pretty much took the back seat and was just like, yo, what do you guys want to do? What do you think? Because I know that they live and breathe the scene, whereas, you know, I kind of was coming as an outsider circling back. So I think that, you know, I trust them and I trust their judgment. So they initially, you know, it was unanimous that Hero needed to be the first single. You know, because of the timeliness of the lyrical content, but also just because the strongest for sure.
Right.
But then the A&R and I had like a little bit of a back and forth about what we want to do with the next one. So I you know, I had mentioned that there's kind of two more on the aggressive, you know, deeper, more minor side of things. And he was like, nah, dude, that needs to be the second single because that one's just as good. And I remember pushing back and being like, listen, I know you guys know the scene better than I do, but I think I was a little concerned about pigeonholing myself as like more of this kind of darker, aggressive leaning, you know, artist.
Right.
And then I also didn't want to surprise people when the whole EP came out and it was like, whoa, we heard two of these kind of like fat, heavy songs, and now all of a sudden you're like, hey, Little Green Eyes, hey, you know. So I definitely thought it was important to, even if we ran the risk of it not connecting as hard or maybe not, you know, performing as well, I think that it was really important for me as an artist to say, listen, when you listen to Surfer Girl, you're going to get this, and you're going to get that, and you're going to get everything in between. And I just want to let that be known right off the bat and let it be known that there is going to be a breadth of styles, a breadth of moods, and a breadth of tones that are going to come with Surfer Girl projects. I feel super, I think we, now in hindsight, we're all really stoked putting Little Green Eyes out, and I think it connected really well. So, it was a cool process, just like deciding to go like, all right, do you go double dark, 2 lights, 1 dark? Like, what are you doing here? And I think that I'm always about kind of that yin and yang, trying to strike the balance. So
It gave you like that really like eclectic, diverse. Like I don't want to say portfolio. Portfolio seems like kind of weird to do as an artist, but like if you get as for starting a new project and kind of giving people a good insight of like what the project is, I think it was a really good move to show like everything that you're about essentially. So I think that was an awesome move on you on the publicist and all that. So.
No, yeah, thank you. I mean, I am the first to say that not every song I release is going to be for you, or you may not fall in love with everything that I do, or maybe you love everything but one, or whatever it is. But I'm not the judge. The music isn't for me. I mean, of course, you got to strike a balance of the music being personal and for you. But at the end of the day, who am I to decide what's going to do well and what's not? No one has a key to the kingdom. No one can crack the code. So to me, it's just like, this is something I connect with. This is something I think sounds good. It doesn't sound like garbage. Who am I to say what will and will not work? I just want to deliver you everything that I can. So I think being able to show that contrast was definitely super important. So
that's awesome.
So you brought up the label. How did you get connected with them? I know you said that they were a huge inspiration to you growing up, but what like did you have relationships with any of them prior that you were able to reach out to them, or how did that all come about?
Well, so at Ineffable, actually through the air days, Thomas Cousins, shout out Tom, like he's incredibly hard worker. He's got his finger on the pulse, and this dude, he knows what the hell he's doing. And he was around through a lot of the early air stuff, mainly because we would play shows with either Ineffable artists, or we'd be hanging around San Francisco, where they're based. But I think we first met at Cali Roots Festival in Monterey, and Ineffable and Cali Roots, they work hand in hand. So that was where we first met. So I had known Thomas prior, and we had a pretty good rapport, pretty good thing going on. And actually my booking agent, Patrick McAuliffe, who's an absolute legend and a great guy, he books for Stick Figure and a whole lot of really awesome guys in the scene. He had always introduced Thomas, and so it was a little bit of a nice familial thing going on. But to actually get the foot in the door again, after so many years had gone by, my manager for the project, he actually kind of like got that foot in the door, and I think it was funny because he pitched it as like, hey, check out this project. We're looking for label support. Maybe you guys will like it. And I just remember seeing, I think in the initial email thread, Thomas being like, holy shit, is this Carter from Air? Damn. All right, we love this. Like, let's keep it going. So it was definitely a cool thing of like, circling back and be like, yo, we've met, we worked well then, let's work well now. So
cool. Hell yeah. I'm a big fan of the Ineffable label as well. I love all the artists, so I think that's awesome. You're just another artist now on there, because
oh yeah,
I'm a big supporter of them. So I love that you're now part of their catalog.
Absolutely.
So what do you think is? I know you said you grew up on everything. You said you went for your hardcore hip hop days to reggae to really everything. Where do you find the inspiration when you're actually writing your music?
I think Bradley Knoll did a number on my brain. And that has had profound impact through every facet of music I've ever touched, completely subconsciously. Like, I think, honestly, when I was listening to Sublime, I listened really, really hard and really closely for about a year and a half. And then I think I kind of like I think I kind of moved on, or I kind of started diving deeper and looking for more. But it's so crazy how when an artist connects with you at a certain point in your life, at a certain time, you just grab on and hold on to everything, and it just continues to influence you throughout. And so it's not that when I'm writing, I'm like, what would Bradley do? Because, I think that may be a little cliche, a little on the nose, especially because he was a legend. He is a legend. Like I don't want to sound cliche, but he bridged the gap of hip hop and reggae and punk and hardcore, and like it was just something. Not to mention his lyrical content is incredible. Right. It was sad, it was happy, it was cheeky, it was dry, it was everything. So I think that just gave me it just really stuck with me. So I think when I'm writing, and I'm kind of stuck in this range of just kind of like my comfort zone, I think about like, how would Bradley write to this? And like how can I just totally flip what the hell this boring thing that I'm doing is on my head? And then all of a sudden I find myself screaming at the top of my lungs about some ridiculous thing. And I'm just like, oh, there's actually something there. And if I didn't get the courage to yell and like use an aggressive voice, and I don't mean that in an angry way, but just like that real, like, from the bottom of your stomach, from the bottom of your heart thing, like, he showed me how to do that. And I don't think I would have done that if I wasn't like consuming a lot of Sublime music. So
that's true. That's awesome.
I like that you said he bridged the gap, because that Sublime is probably the very first band, I mean, when I was growing up, that I ever heard that did anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't really know any other music. Like, I wasn't like familiar with like Long Beach Sub All Stars when they were in their heyday, like 20 years ago, right? So
right.
It was my first exposure to exactly what you're saying, to that, where it doesn't need to be just that one cookie cutter genre. It can be a whole mix of things. It could show every emotion. I think like you're absolutely correct. He was just huge in the music scene in general. Just what he did for music was huge.
And I think that I think it gets lost on people a little bit these days that like, I think they get idolized as this like, strictly as a reggae band, or just kind of like idolized as the pioneers of the modern reggae sound. But it's just like, these dudes were using break beats. These guys were using samples. These guys were covering the Grateful Dead. These guys were doing so many number of things that like were not what you were hearing today. And like, granted, you take things and you run, and things evolve. They'll constantly evolve. But they had clunky, weird breakbeat fills going in over like a out of tune synth, and there was just so much creativity and like hodgepodge of like sampling and like 90s West Coast hip hop that was happening with this kind of, beachy reggae thing that I just think sometimes people just overlook them as like, they did so much more than just like reggae. And I think that they of course, the reason they're so legendary is because people know that they pioneered that. But I feel like sometimes people forget that, like, if you actually listen to what the hell is going on in the production, it's crazy. There's just so much going on. So I don't know. I love listening to that, and I'm always throwing in like DJ scratches and shit, and just like, because it's like, this is the good stuff. This is what's so great.
What was your? I mean, I don't know how much you're going to be able to answer this. So I'm curious. So rewind 10 years ago or 12 years ago, whenever it was. What was your initial reaction to Sublime with Rome starting? Not now. Now that we know how successful they are and how great they are together, but when it first was announced, were you excited for that, or did you think it was gonna possibly hurt the Sublime name at all? Like, I remember having mixed emotions about it, and then hearing the first album and loving it. But I remember when I first found out, I was a little hesitant on like how I felt about them continuing on.
I hope Rome's not watching, because he and I have worked together in the past, and he's the nicest man alive, and I am like, I'm a big fan, and I'm not going to say, but shit sucks, because I am.
I was gonna say we can just cut out whatever you say.
No, because I am there is no doubt in my mind that Rome's a legend. I know this. I guess the reason I prefaced it is because I honestly, when it came out, I didn't listen to it much. You know, I think naturally Lay Me Down obviously really connected with me because I was a big fan of Dirty Heads, and
Right.
you know, Rome singing on it, and I'm like, geez, this silky smooth voice, my God, it's incredible. And I just remember being like, okay, this is gonna work, and it's gonna work really well. But if I'm not mistaken, they chose Rome from it was like a competition, right? Like a contest.
I think so. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And I remember just being like, oh, that's like kind of an interesting way to choose. It almost felt like not the replacement. That Mark Wahlberg movie where like he's lining up in the Philadelphia Eagles parking lot to like,
yeah.
I think it's called The Replacements, right? And I just remember being like, it just felt like such a new way to like, it was just so interesting to me. And I just remember not really listening. And I think honestly though, when Rome, you know, became the new lead singer, I think I hadn't even discovered, or not discovered, but I don't think I had given Sublime the deep dive that I had given it yet. So I don't even think I think we just kind of missed paths. But since then, I mean, I've seen them live a million times, and I know the talent this man has, and I've worked with him in the studio, and it's just like, now the respect is infinite. But I think in the moment when I was like growing up and they made that decision, I don't think I really paid attention to it.
I think that was a lot of people's like a first initial reaction to it. It was kind of like, what's this, like, kind of thing, or
yeah.
But like, yeah,
you got to see him live too to really go like to get that respect and go, oh, holy shit, this guy knows, like this guy got it. I think what's really cool about that, I mean, I listen, you know, I'm a fan of the Grateful Dead. So I've seen Dead and Co. a whole bunch of times. You know, I've seen a lot of the iterations of, you know, the Grateful Dead. And I think when I was in, you know, being in the crowd and talking to people about John Mayer, you know, taking over Jerry's spot, it's nothing but love in the crowd. It's people going, listen, I didn't really listen to much John Mayer before. He's kind of mom rock. I don't really give a fuck about this dude, but boy, can he play. And boy, is he doing this shit justice. And I think the first time that I saw Sublime with Rome, that was exactly what went through my mind. I was just like, it's not the same. It's certainly not the same, but holy shit, this is the next best thing. And it's just damn good to see them playing this thing live. Because hearing that bass live, like, woof, you know, it's, I mean, I never thought I'd hear that shit played live. So it's definitely the best we'll get, you know, and it works for me.
Works for me too. I had to ask, you said you talked up Sublime so much. I was curious to see what a true Sublime fan's reaction is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I never asked that question before. That was interesting. I literally like kind of had the same exact reaction. I felt that in the beginning. I was like, I don't really know about this. And then the second I heard the album, I was like, wow, they picked the perfect person to do this. They couldn't have found someone.
Yeah. They couldn't have found someone better, hands down.
So I have a question so we're at After Hours. Our biggest thing is bringing up like new or up and coming bands and artists and putting a spotlight on these bands that we think are great and aren't the same shit you hear on the radio. So I'm curious, do you have any smaller bands that you listening to right now, or any like local or up and coming bands that you really fuck with more than just the same radio shit of any genre? It doesn't matter what. Doesn't need to be radio.
Yeah.
Or
I
even
mean,
like an underrated artist too. Like something's like, oh, this is like this band like flew under the radar, and you should listen to them because XYZ.
Right.
Excluding Starfigure, obviously, but like.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give a couple, but I think honestly, I haven't listened to anything new, and I know how pretentious that sounds, and I know how, You know, oh, look at me, I'm so cool. I listen to only old music. Not what I'm trying to say. I think I honestly owe doing my homework to what got me back into reggae, because probably about 3 years ago, I actually listened to the Beatles for the first time. Granted, of course, I know the hits and I knew
Wow.
this, but it was the first time I went from start, the first album they ever put out, until the last album they ever put out, start to finish, analyzing each song, kind of like listening to the chords, listening to the lyrics. And so that naturally just sent me down a rabbit hole. British invasion, all of the 60s stuff, you know, listening to the American response to the British invasion, like all this shit that made me do my homework and listen to how we got to where we are musically. And if I hadn't done that prior, then I would have never listened to Alt Mellis. I would have never listened to like all the rootsy guys that kind of got me back into reggae. Freddie McKay, you know, Jackie Matu. Like, you know, while I have an answer to your question, I think that I've been spending a lot of time in the past and doing, I think, the necessary research. You listen to like some of the greatest albums from the 80s and the 90s, and then what's even more interesting about that is you listen to what they were listening to when they wrote them, and you realize like, holy shit, there's so much incredible music for me to study up on. But I think Khruangbin is one of the bands that has just nonstop inspired me for the past 4 years since I found out about them. Or Khruangbin, Khruangbin. They're a Houston-based, you know, they call themselves Thai funk, but they're not Thai funk. They're just like a drum and bass kind of very eclectic, polyrhythmic, really fucking awesome instrumental band that has seeped into all the production that I do, all the guitar playing that I do. So I think that while they are probably pretty properly rated now, I think they're a name that when you say, most people are like, who the hell are you talking about? Like Khruangbin, Krang Bang? I don't know what you're saying, but their influence on me has been nonstop. And then I would say in the reggae industry, Kes the band, like so it's funny actually. I heard him. I went down to Florida for my first time when I was 7, and he was playing a bar in Florida, and I just remember being like, holy shit, whatever that guy's doing is like kind of what I want to do with my life. He was jumping around on stage. I haven't told him this. I don't know the man personally, but he's on the same label as me. So maybe one day I'll get to connect with him. But I just remember being like, whatever he's got going on, like that is incredible. And I went home onto LimeWire, and I'm sorry, Kes, but I went onto LimeWire and I downloaded his song. And I was like, holy shit, this guy is incredible. And it wasn't until, and I'll be honest, it wasn't until I, you know, started talking with Ineffable that I realized, oh my God, he's been putting out music this whole time. It's all incredible. And I feel like he doesn't get talked about. So I would say Kes is really sick and someone in the scene that I would love to see getting more love, you know?
Yeah, you're a true fan because you downloaded stuff from LimeWire, so it's like that's where the real homies are. Like,
oh, you already know. Yeah, I mean,
wow. Did you see the question in the comments? Because
movies with the best musical soundtrack. Oh, there you go.
Movies with the best musical soundtrack.
I have like a bad answer. It's a good answer, I guess. But
why is it a bad answer? No, I'm curious.
Interesting answer. My thought was American Pie because they have like Blink-182 and a bunch of all that other shit. And I was like, hey, that works.
90s nostalgia.
Yeah, that's not a bad answer, but
I love it.
I like this answer.
Honestly, like Shrek. Listen, I Need a Hero by Fairy Godmother lives rent-free in my head, like from Shrek 2. That lives rent-free in my head, like constantly.
Yeah, we're getting answers galore here.
Oh yeah.
People are in it.
Forrest Gump has smashes for sure. Well, so if I'm just like looking to lounge, I'll put on like Inception, because any John Williams is like crazy town. This man's compositions, but like that's like classical shit. That's like classic scoring. I think in your kind of vein of American Pie, like the Austin Powers soundtrack gets slept on. Sergio Mendes, Mash K. Nada's in there. We've got Bossa Nova Blues by Quincy Jones as like the theme song. Like there is just so much sexy 60s flavor in there that I'm a big fan of.
Fair. That's true. You know what? I actually liked Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I really liked the score. I really liked the soundtrack of that.
That's a good
That,
one.
That one and like the what was it like the bad like the not like the main bad person, but like his I think uncle. Yeah, his uncle. Like his theme music was like one of my favorites. It was like really like spooky and I loved it so much. That and the visuals. Chef's kiss.
Despicable Me has a good one because I love Pharrell and I love anything Pharrell does. So that's all produced by Pharrell. Oof, it's really good.
I don't think I've watched Despicable Me. I don't know. I've seen all like the like memes and stuff of it. Don't get that.
Such a shit. You gotta watch that one. That's a good one.
I see all like the like memes of it, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if I can get like past it. I don't know.
All right, fair enough.
But yeah, I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse definitely like all around like great movie, like visual soundtrack is like really good, like all around track for me. That and Shrek 2, but that was obvious for me. So
love it. Apocalypse Now's got a good one too.
Yeah. Oh, we already shared Forrest Gump, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, one last question before we wrap up. I know we talked about like you going to shows like a while ago, but I was curious. Do you have a favorite or like a memorable moment at a show, either playing or participating? Anything that kind of sticks out to you, like before pre-COVID times, obviously, or during.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm out here writing like a fuck Trump song, so naturally, like, I'm not really like in the middle of a sweaty pile of people like in a rave in Brooklyn right now. But I feel you. I hear you.
I got you.
So my very first concert was the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones, which like, you know, classic old British ska band, which was just like so much fun. So I just wanted to say that. And then honestly, it sounds again a little on the nose, but the Dirty Heads were super generous and invited us out on tour, as Air, and we were, two crazy kids running around stage, rapping, but playing reggae music, but also alternative, kind of like indie sounding stuff. And I mean, granted, you look at exactly who the Dirty Heads are, and maybe it wasn't. I mean, that's a pretty fucking perfect match. But I remember, so we looked at the tour ad map for the first time, and we're reading through it, and we're like, wow, stadium tour is like really sick. This is cool. Holy shit, we're playing Red Rocks, and it sold out. And we were just like, this is insane. We're playing Red Rocks, sold out. And I mean, you can hear it from anybody who's ever played Red Rocks. Yes, it's incredibly magical. It's such an insane place. But to add to the insanity of this moment, it had rained all day, like downpour, Colorado summer downpour. So it was like 45 degrees, like freezing, downpour, fucking thunder and lightning. It was a wild day. And I remember the whole stage was covered up, but we were, I think it was kind of like rain or shine, we're going to play, because it started spitting, and then out we go, and it is just still lightly raining and cloudy and moody and dark. And I think, I don't know what happened, call it fate, call it God, call it weather being weather, but we just performed. And from the start of our set, where it was cloudy and just gross and disgusting, and people were in ponchos, shivering and sad, to the time we stepped off stage, clouds parted, sunshine for the rest of the show. And I just remember being like, listen, I'm not saying our music is the music that did that. I just know that all I know was being outside, standing on that natural stage in that natural amphitheater, looking up like this at all these people, cold but having a damn good time, to just sunshine was like, you can't forget anything like that.
You're like, listen, I'm not saying Poseidon is a fan of our music or not, but like could be.
But
There's no
I
evidence
don't
to
know.
not say.
That was pretty cool that Red Rocks is your like favorite memory, because we typically ask the question to most of our bands of what is like your dream show, and Red Rocks is the answer. I would say 99.9% of the time.
Well, so can I say that it's still my dream show? Because I don't want to have peak. I hope I didn't peak, Dan. Like, so Red Rock
Come on,
is still my
Dan.
dream show.
All right, so it's still a dream. All right, I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so you've been on with us for almost an hour. We're going to end you the same way we end everyone, with the same question here. If we have a very diverse audience, we, besides the reggae rock that we are very heavily influenced by, we have a lot of hardcore music, a lot of rap, a lot of pop punk. So what, if you had a soapbox to stand on to for 30 seconds, what would you say to get people to listen to Surfer Girl? Or give it a chance?
Hear ye, hear ye. Shaking my bell.
On the soapbox.
No,
Hell
maybe
yeah.
I wouldn't start that. Oh, no, I'm actually on the soapbox. Okay.
I wish I could put
Listen.
like bell emojis right once. All right, continue. Sorry.
Listen, it's impossible to be a purist. You're inspired by and influenced by everything that happens to you. Like, whether it's something you see on the street, whether it's a sound you hear in your car. Oh, I love that. That's nice. No matter what you hear, you are constantly consuming stuff and you're being inspired by any number of things. That's why I feel like it's silly to say you strictly like this or you strictly like that, because at the end of the day, you can grab something from anything. And listen, I'm not going to be here and tell you that you're going to fall in love with everything I do. You may think that I'm incredibly obnoxious and really corny. That's fine. But who knows? Still give me a chance, because there may be a song you like. There may be a song you don't like, but you might know someone who would like it. So here's where I think you should give me a chance. I'm an energetic dude. I love to have fun. And I would like to think that most people in the world like to have fun. So no matter what it is, whether we're moshing in the front or whatever we're doing, I'm here for you. We can jam, we can not jam, whatever it is. I think that there's something there for you. If you like rap, if you like dirty bass, you like some really deep, heavy shit, you like dub, you just want some cute bubblegum pop, I swear to God, there's something there for you. So give me a chance. And again, if you don't like it, that's okay. I appreciate it, because you still gave it a shot, and maybe there's someone who would like it and get some value out of it. So hear ye, hear ye. Thanks for coming to the speech. A ring-a-ding-ding, baby.
I wish I had a dog. That was that.
I need to bring all of the. There we go. Just the everywhere. I was like, I'm like, my next investment is like a little like soundboard, so I could just go like all the time, or like where I can change my voice like on a whim. That's like my new next investment during like after all this. So.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Get the. You need it.
Well, Carter, seriously, thank you so much for coming on with us. It was extremely appreciated. Looking forward to it. So you said this year. What are we thinking for this new EP? How long do you think you're going to keep us waiting?
Not long. Within 2 months. Within 2 months, you will absolutely have all 5 songs, which is going to be the debut Surfer Girl EP, which I think is likely just going to be called Surfer Girl EP. We'll get more creative with the titles later. That's just the beginning, though. I mean, like I said, this was done in a vacuum during quarantine, and I think that the world opens back up, I'm going to realize that I want to get on tour. I'm going to be touring. I'm going to play so many shows. I love this music through and through, but this is just the beginning for me. And I think that, again, I have felt nothing but love, warmth, and like reception from, returning to the reggae scene. So I don't know what the hell I've been doing for the past 5 years. So all I know is that I'm not going anywhere, and like this music brings me joy, and I hope it brings you guys joy too. So EP's coming out with at least 2 months. I mean, at most 2 months. And but after that, I've already got a whole bunch of music ready to rock. So we got some good stuff. So please, follow me on Instagram. Oh wow, look at that.
We got the little banner going down.
Follow me, do all that nonsense, and definitely pay attention because I think we're gonna do a whole lot of cool shit. So.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
All right, everyone, thank you for watching us. Carter, thank you for coming on again. Very much.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, V.
All right, and we'll see you later. Bye.